Hey, welcome back. Yelling and Screaming, Club 602's best NFL show, only NFL show. I'm Rick, flying solo for a little bit this morning. Sean might join us at some point into the show, but you're stuck with me until then. Great slate of games, really good early games. We had Saturday games this time for week 16. I don't know if it's like the holiday week or what. The NFL usually will start flexing games to Saturday late in the year, but I don't know offhand if this is a one-off or something that they plan to do more. Week 16 feels early, but we got an exciting game. We also got a crappy Eagles game in there as well, but we will get to that all the way back. Thursday night football, Rams and Seahawks. Um, Seattle Cheat Hawks might ring some bells for the Packers fans. Um, Man, this was a good one. It was a little strange. That 2 point play uh, situation was kind of weird. The NFL rules can get a little convoluted. Uh, but hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, how do you lose this game? Up 16 with 10 minutes left. Rams probably took themselves from the one seed in the NFC to wild card. Um, that's a hard road. That's a tough road, especially as an indoor team. So we'll see if they can right the ship. But I don't know if you can trust the Rams team in January if they can't close out a game. Your quarterback throws for almost 500 passing yards. Not great. Not great. Seahawks, on the other hand, I was wrong. I will own this. I called the Seahawks the knockoff Seahawks. They seemingly downgraded at every position year over year coming in. Obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba having a fantastic year, way better than his underlying stats would have indicated was possible. Obviously, the Seahawks knew it. They wouldn't have let all those other guys walk away if they didn't believe he was capable of doing that. But my concern with Seahawks all year has been kind of like that timeshare. Both backs obviously get a ton of run in this game, and you win, right? And W's is all that really matters at the end of the day. But what I want to continue seeing from them is how you blend those running backs because together they're an RB1. And obviously, in a game like this, they were both RB1s, a really good effort. Um, I'm just not sure it's going to continue working, but I've been saying that since week 6, and here we are, Seahawks sitting pretty much in first place. Puka with a huge game, 12 for 225, 2 touchdowns. Problem was it meant absolutely nothing in a loss. You got to win the game, but monstrous stat line. The dude is a beast. I don't know that it happens without Devontae Adams, but you have to play the game you can play, and the personnel you have on the field is who they are. So having Puka be able to do that at any given time, Stafford obviously a fantastic quarterback. Huge game there. Congrats to the Seahawks. Uh, the Eagles and the Commanders. Eagles win this game 29-18. Really inspired. No Sean here to back the Eagles for seemingly no reason. This team doesn't look good to me. Obviously, they clinched the NFC East. They are the best team in the East. They are a great team in the NFC in general. Doing this against the Commanders doesn't really make me feel warm and fuzzy. Marcus Mariota sucks. He's awful. 7 for 14 for 95 yards. And Jalen Hurts had a 2 touchdown game. And one of the things we've talked about all year is can can the Eagles win when Jalen Hurts plays well? Because it doesn't seem to happen sometimes. They put it all together here. As much as I want to talk, needing 15 points in the fourth quarter to pull away from a Commanders team, that doesn't feel great to me, especially when this Commanders team has no quarterback, has no running back. Scary Terry was back in this game. Terry McLaurin sucks. I thought he was a good receiver. I hate players who hold out. He held out. He's having a best fiscal year. Some injuries in there too, but the Eagles' defensive secondary is not like world beaters by any means. So going 3 catches for 53 yards, while it's a decent average, I'd be interested to see his average depth of target on that. But it is what it is. Eagles win. AJ Brown with 9 catches for 95. Saquon goes for 132 and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts puts 2 touchdowns on the board. Like the pieces are there. I mean, obviously, this is defending Super Bowl champ. This is a team that won the Super Bowl. hard to take too much away from them. I think that the way we discuss the Eagles, it doesn't line up with being 10-5 and playing the way they have. But 10-5, lock the East. The game last night, from Chicago originally. I am not a Bears fan, but you can't help but be hyper involved in all of that. Being from Chicago, it's the only thing that matters. Baseball, you split the Cubs and the Sox. Don't let people my age tell you about the Blackhawks. No one gives a shit about the Blackhawks. They were good for like 3 championships in 6 years, and they suck now. They're awful. The Bulls have not been good since Jordan. No one cares. But the Bears, even when the Bears suck, everybody in Chicago loves the Bears. The Packers, for as long as I've been alive, have been so much better than the Bears to the point of embarrassment. Like this Bears franchise, for all of the history and all of the money and all of the fan base, it's just like embarrassing how bad this Bears team has been. I've talked a lot about Caleb Williams and how ineffective I thought he had looked at times last year. This kid's growing up. 19 for 34 for 250 is not like a stellar stat line. He avoided the mistakes. We'll get to the overtime in a minute, but yeah, yeah, the last 8 minutes in OT, huge, huge. This Bears team put it together. It's tough to rely on onside kicks and deep bombs and plays like that, but in a win, it hides a lot. I thought that this game was over when Jordan Love got hurt. I am on the record saying I think Malik Willis is a better quarterback for this Packers system than Jordan Love is. I catch a lot of flack for that. It is what it is. Malik Willis comes in. I thought this game was over. He snapped off a couple big runs. He was taking advantage of some. Oh, sorry, the dog is attacking. Get out of here. He took advantage of some gaps in the Bears defense that they left intentionally, right? Game planning for Love. So obviously Willis comes in. It's a completely different style of quarterback. You have to adapt on the fly. But he looked good. 9 for 11 for 121 in that touchdown. Add some rushing yards on the ground. Emmanuel Wilson looked good as well for the Packers. 6-0 at the half is not exactly what I would have predicted, especially given how these teams played each other the last time. What Sean would tell you is, it's a divisional game. These teams know each other really well. They game plan for each other. It's chess, right? The Bears think the Packers think that the Bears think they're going to do this, and then you build from there. So you tend to see more vanilla game plans. And I thought this was actually a very aggressive game plan from the Bears, and it paid off for them. Not great on the ground necessarily, but the defenses played really, really well. Going into the half, down a single score is exactly where they needed to be for this. I think the Bears are the best team in the NFC right now. And the only thing that gives me a little pause there is I think there's some little inconsistencies that come with just age. The wide receivers are hurt. The defensive linebacker core and the corners are still a little banged up for the Bears. I think if they get healthy, this team's a team to beat. And if they can make some of these NFC teams like the Rams we just talked about come through Chicago instead of playing in a dome, I think the Bears have an opportunity to really do something here this season. Obviously, in overtime, the touch on that pass from Caleb Williams, I had like Bears flashbacks, right? Jay Cutler, he kind of bombed up and threw that thing. And I'm like, this is interception. The Packers are going to drive down the field and win. And he laced it to exactly the right point. And that is something the Bears have never had. The Bears have never had a quarterback who could do that. Kyle Orton, who I think is probably the best Bears quarterback of all time, which isn't saying a whole lot. But man, he couldn't hit those passes. Jay Cutler couldn't hit those passes. The Bears have never had a guy who could throw that pinpoint accurate ball and drop it in. So really, really cool to see that. Congrats to the Bears. Beating the Packers means more than just winning a game, especially after dropping the game to the Packers just 2 weeks ago. So that's a big one there. Let's get into the slate. and then I'll wait on the game of the week until it's ordered in the slate in case Sean gets on here. So yeah, let's start the Bills Browns. I think this is an interesting matchup uh, because Shadur is going to have an opportunity to show that he belongs. Um, this this game is Buffalo 10.5, and I think that's fine. Hey, how's it going, bud?
How's it going, guys? It going?
All you missed was me shitting on the Eagles and talking about the Bears. So we're getting into the game. You got anything from Thursday or Saturday you really wanted to highlight?
Oh man. First off, I want to say great football games, especially these two divisional games that we got to watch. The Eagles game, we didn't expect the Commanders to be a good team in that game, and so what the Eagles had to do was kind of show that hey, their offense can get back on track, that they weren't going to collapse like we hoped that they wouldn't, and give the Cowboys a realistic chance of winning that division. And so they got that. But these other two games, I mean, what are we talking about here? One score games, divisional games against top teams, fighting for first place in their divisions. You know, we got two teams fighting for first place overall in the NFC. Two teams fighting for second place in the NFC here. You got to see some great football. You got to see some good defense. You got to see some great rushing, and then you got to see some good QB battles. A different game battle than we expected in Green Bay and the Green Bay and Bears game. But Caleb looked poised. The run game looked really, really, really potent for the Bears. So I know that they really feel good about that track. And if you're Green Bay, even losing Jordan Love, even not having Micah Parsons, your team performed incredibly well in an away game against a very strong football team. The rush offense looked really, really good for them. Over 150 total yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so I was really, really excited about these two games. And two games that go to overtime. In the early slate, two divisional games against really, really strong teams. You can't ask for much more on a Thursday and on a Saturday. So very, very proud of the product that we got to see on the field in the last 2 days. And now we're starting to see that NFC top start to shape up. Still a couple of games that really kind of will show us where that's going to look like. But so far, it was honestly really good football to watch.
Yeah, one of the things I mentioned is with the Rams' loss, potentially having to go through Chicago instead of having a home game. That is a massive loss for the Rams and really kind of shifts the way the top of the NFC looks.
Definitely, definitely. And the Bears are they're really, really happy about their position right now. I mean, whether or not they win the division, I mean, I still expect it to be the case. Put themselves in the best position to do so. Um, but yeah, whoever in the Seattle Rams battle right here, which I'm still feeling like that's going to be the battle for that division. You know, I feel like the Niners are just a step behind, and they can't catch these other two. But in that battle, you're seeing now basically the positioning shaping up. We also look at the same thing with the Packers too. That's going to be weird for them as well, and trying to figure out, okay, we have to push up. We have to push on. Malik Willis, in my opinion, looked really good yesterday. I always thought that he was a great fit for this offense, and he came in and there was no drop off. How many times did you hear them talk about Jordan Love throwing off his back foot? What I say, man. But hey, it's going to be really, really nice to see a team, in my opinion, playing in Seattle is obviously we know about the 12th man, much harder than playing in LA. Much harder than playing in LA. Playing in Chicago or Lambeau is going to be tough
Well,
regardless.
LA's got a 12th man. It's the Chargers.
the, their 12th man is Smog.
Let's jump into the slate. We'll give you some time to warm up before we hit this game of the week.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Bills Browns. Bills are a 10-point favorite here. Sean, just as you logged on, I was saying I think this is an interesting one for the Browns. Shadur has an opportunity against a Bills defense that hasn't looked great at times this year to either solidify or further solidify his grasp on the starting role for next year. He's looked good at times. He makes some stupid mistakes. He's a rookie. He's played 4 games. I don't hate the development arc he's on right now. Obviously, I got the Bills winning this game, but that's what I'll be watching. What can Shadur do? in this game to show me he's the guy.
Honestly, we need to see some of those flashes of brilliance. Some of the things that we saw in the game that they lost in that overtime game. Oh, no, sorry, the game that they lost with that 2-point conversion. He needs to be able to put up numbers, get to his receivers, and really make this offense look like it's something that needs a few pieces as opposed to an entire rebuild. Judkins isn't a bad running back, and their receiver core could be better, obviously, but honestly, it's not too terrible. And to play against a team like the Bills, who are so strong offensively, and you expect them to control the clock a lot more. So when you are on the field for Shador, you have to maintain drives. You have to make sure that your guys aren't going out 3-and-outs. Because as soon as you do that, that's Josh Allen time. That's James Cook time. They're just going to milk that clock. And that's if they decide to play like that. Early on, we expect that they're going to put out some fireworks. They're going to just kind of close this game out as early as possible and like ride off. And so if you're the Browns, your job is to first off let Myles Garrett get into that backfield as much as possible. Allow your defense to slow down the Bills, and then you maintain drives on the field, get deep into their territory, get some field goals if you can get some scores, if not some touchdowns, and really put pressure on the Bills offense to have to perform. That to me is the best key to him actually succeeding in this game. And the game could be a lot tighter than we realize. We watch the Bills play down to their competition all the time. We watch them get losses, and we're like, you guys take on the class of the NFL, and you play those games really tough, the top divisional teams, and you play down to these other teams. And so this could be a game that's a little bit tighter than we expect. The Bills are a really good second half team in the season, especially. We expect them to be a strong team today. So if for Shador, it really comes down to maintaining drives.
Chargers go to Dallas. Dallas a 1.5-point favorite with the Eagles locking the division. This is pretty much over for the Cowboys. I think there's a scenario where they can get in as the last wild card. Obviously, it starts having to beat this Chargers team, which is beat to hell. I have no interest in this one from a viewing standpoint, but from an analysis standpoint, lost season for the Chargers. It's really about what could have been. Losing essentially your entire offensive line and still going 10-4 is super impressive to me. I don't know. I assume they're still going to grab a wild card, but I mean, they're not going to beat a contender.
No, it is a really, really tough season for the Chargers. They're just another one of those teams that is consistently mid-tier. To make the playoffs is absolutely going to be essential for them to really like continue to show us that they're one of those teams that is going to be good in the future. But I'm not expecting them to be any good any good in any playoff position. But with that being said, any given Sunday, you gotta play the games that are in front of you, and they own the tiebreaker to the Bills. So even if the Chargers, the Chargers could clear out, they could win out, close out their season potentially, and take that 5 seed with the Steelers being the 4, obviously, because for the division potentially, and so that still gives them a chance. I mean, playing against potentially Pittsburgh might be the best situation for them to be able to actually make some type of noise in the playoffs. So realistically, the Chargers control their own destiny. If they win out, even if Buffalo wins, they win the 5 seed, and so it's the best position for them to possibly be in, given that there's much stronger teams in the AFC that they do not want to face. So if I'm the Chargers, I'm doing everything I can to keep myself where I'm at, and hopefully I can get my team well enough to be able to put together something, a little bit of a playoff run, which is something that we just have not seen from them ever. I don't think that I've ever really looked at the Chargers and going, yeah, that team's going to go deep in the playoffs. So it's not something that we expect from them. They have the opportunity to do so. And I mean, they don't have the worst path. You're looking at them playing against the Steelers, and then after that, you got what? Maybe the winner of the Jags Bills, or maybe a Houston team. Like, depending on how those games wipe out. Like, you never really know. It could be a little bit different of a run than we're expecting. So I'm the Chargers.
And the division's not gone yet. I mean, the Broncos have a hell of a game today, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, I guess anything is possible.
Technically, we're talking about one game out. If they win, Broncos lose, it's one game.
And in the same vein of anything is possible, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to Charlotte to play the Panthers. This is essentially for the division. These teams play again week 18. Um, this is a big game. The Bucks are bad. Somehow 3-point favorites on the road here. I'm expecting Baker just to push and push and push, man. They might get Mike Evans to 1,000 yards the way this is going, which would be like if he gets to 1,000 yards, they should give him comeback player of the year because that's insane. I think it's nearing mathematical impossibility, but I think I said that 3 weeks ago, and we're still talking about it. It still could be here. So, who do you got winning this NFC South first place game?
Honestly, I've been pushing for Carolina to be a spoiler at first, and now I'm really excited about the chance of them winning that division, like truly winning it. I mean, they got to win it on their own backs. They have to play smart football, no turnovers or minimal turnovers. They can outplay the Bucks here. The Bucks have had a collapse of epic proportion here on the back half of the season, and we looked at them and went, okay, they're going to be potentially one of the top teams in the NFC, and now we're like, oh man, they might not even make the playoffs. But that's the beauty of football. We love to see it. And Mike Evans right now with the potential to get 1,000 yards.
I just did the math. He's 242 receiving yards a game.
Not possible.
It's not gonna happen, but wouldn't that be cool?
Egbuka could get to 1,000, and if you're Baker Mayfield, having 1,000 yard receiver, regardless, is a testament to your ability to put the ball where the receivers need it. So that's something not to sneeze at. Mike Evans obviously has been a workhorse for this offense for years. We've watched him be the guy, and so just to have someone else on the team, when Godwin can't do it this year, to be able to have another receiver really looks good for their offense in the coming seasons. You start to look at some of these wide receiver duos and trios now, and you're like, okay, these guys really can put a good product together. And next year, maybe they make some moves and suddenly they're back in that same position, fighting for the division. Hopefully leading the division if you're a Bucks fan. But I mean, I'm excited to see if Tet can do it as well. I mean, I think he's pretty close too as well, and getting 1,000 yards. And we talk about that as a benchmark for receiver, 1,000 yard season, because even though we added the extra games to season, it's still not something that people are able to do. I mean, it's a lot to get 1,000 yards in a season.
Yeah.
So shout out to these guys for getting close to it. The guys who've already passed, some of the receivers we've seen with some 13, 14, 1,500 yard seasons couple of years, we're seeing guys getting up to the 2,000s. And so those are always your volume receivers. We watch guys getting 10, 12 receptions in a game. But if you're a young guy in the NFL, if you're in your second season and you're knocking on the door that 1,000 and you're making the way over, like kudos to you. So I mean, it's not really possible for Mike Evans to do it. It would be the most ridiculous thing ever. He'd have to put up not Tua. He'd have to put up Puka Nacua type
Puka numbers,
type numbers, some JSN type numbers every game in order to even get close to that. But I do expect that it's going to be a Mike Evans heavy game today. I think that they're going to rely on him. So if you got him in your fantasy lineup, start him. In my opinion, I think that they're really going to lean on him. He's their workhorse. And I think that this offense is going to try their best. They're going to put their best product on the field today, so they can to hopefully secure this win and maybe get it. Really put the brakes on the Carolina chance of winning this division.
I'll tell you what, man, if I'm an NFC playoff team, I don't really want to play either one of these guys. The Panthers are scrappy, jump up and bite you, and the Bucks are getting healthy. And if the Bucks are the good Bucks, they're a top 3 NFC team, and that's terrifying to have to play them because they're a low seed or the lowest division winner. And yeah, I wouldn't feel great about it if they get all their guys back.
Playing on the road, regardless, is never easy. However, I have seen some statistics that say that when there's teams that play West Coast versus East Coast teams, you always really want to bet on the West Coast team, just based on the
Yeah,
timing.
remember when that was a thing though? Like the West,
Yeah.
I think it was right when they realigned the division, so like
Mhm.
2002. like the West Coast teams had like a sub 200 winning percentage for like the first 8 years of that new schedule system. And part of it was because the team sucked at the time, but just
Mhm.
weird math. It's like you don't see many things like that in the NFL that's like sustained over such a long period.
But then you start looking and they start talking about the primetime games. They start talking about East Coast teams traveling to the West Coast. They tend to lose. West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast. They tend to win simply because of performance and timing. So, regardless of that, if you're a team, you never want to have to play a playoff game on the road. There are some teams who thrive in that energy. But I mean, playing in Tampa Bay is still no joke. So if I am if I am a Rams fan, if I am one of those guys who are knocking on the door of winning the division, or versus just getting that second place spot and having to think about playing the Bucks on the road, a healthy Bucks team at home who's hungry, who wants to finally wants to really push themselves and get to that next level. I'm gonna be watching this game real closely.
Shit bowl of the week. Well, wait, let me pause. If you're in Arizona, Club 602 is at Four Peaks for our big brunch today.
Yeah.
Sean, does Four Peaks have some kind of affiliation with a team or a fan base or something?
If you are a Vikings fan, this is the place you want to be. All right, this is cold country. We always have a great time. Four Peaks puts on a great show with the fans there. They really do appreciate their patronage, and the food and the drinks are incredible. So stop by. Even if you're not a Vikings fan, go ahead and stop by Four Peaks. Their food is great. The beer is awesome. Great gift shop. And just a good energy in there. And it's really, really electric, regardless of whether or not you're a Vikings fan. But if you are, I think today's going to be a fun day for you. I think that regardless of whether or not who they put on the field at quarterback, it's always fun to watch. And this Giants team is also looking all banged up and just playing in a tough season. Realistically, if you are the Giants, you want to get a win here. Anything that you can get to kind of get your team feeling like they're on the right track, given how the Eagles, for the first time in 21 years, clinched division twice in a row. If you're the Giants, you're like, what do we have to do to claw back in this division next year? And it starts with getting the wins when you have the opportunity. If you are a Vikings fan, you obviously having a disappointing season. The quarterback play and the quarterback injuries, you're not really happy about. But hey, that's football for you. You're hoping next year you can come back strong, but get these wins against these little C's while you can, unless you're looking for unless you're trying to go for that positioning for the draft.
That draft pick.
Um,
So,
O
all
line is
right,
so fine.
you
O
ready for
line.
this? I have
Yeah.
been I have been a massive critic of JJ McCarthy. Take a step back. The Vikings are 6-8. McCarthy looks better now than he did earlier in the year. He did deal with some injuries as well. If this Vikings team can get to 8-9, not even 500, but 8-9, this is a successful season, and I will be proud of JJ McCarthy.
I can appreciate that, Rick. That's very adult of you to say that.
They're
And
going
it
to lose
is
this game.
true.
They're going to lose this game to the Giants.
It is true though, and I do agree with you. I think that any signs pointing to JJ McCarthy being able to maintain this offense and make them relevant potentially, whereas we could have seen some really really bad collapses all season. I would be proud as well. I think that obviously it's still very early in his career. He hasn't had a chance to play a full season. He comes off a missed season, and so you want to see him developing here. You want to see him start to put things together, start to understand his receivers, understand his reads, understand his pocket presence, and see some flashes of brilliance. If you're a fan and you're hoping that he's going to be your quarterback next year, then you would really, really want to see him kind of close the season out against some of these not as strong teams, teams who are also injury ridden, and really get a chance to put himself in that category of quarterbacks who aren't going to be challenging for spots next year. because there's a few. So if I'm a Vikings fan, I'm looking up at this game and hoping for a good game.
Uh, Burrow is back. Tua is gone. You think Tua's played his last game for the Dolphins?
No, I don't think so. It's too much money. You give him too much money, and
He
that's the problem
sucks
that I have.
though. Like at a certain point, it's sunk. It's gonna hit the cap either way.
Yeah,
So
but
like because he's not your emergency third quarterback. He has no tangible skills he can teach to a new young quarterback. So you don't need him as a backup. The guy's a baller. He's an athletic talent. But like, do you want Tua teaching your rookie quarterback how to play in the NFL?
I think, in all honesty, there's still some question marks about this season that tell me that Miami might not be getting rid of Tua. They might be getting him McDaniel. I think that might be more of a reality than getting rid of Tua at this point. It's just it seems like for me there are situations where Miami makes decisions that are just bad decisions. They as far as the coaching goes, some of the play calling and things like that, and some of that statistical brilliance that we saw early on for McDaniel just kind of started to go by the wayside. He stopped looking like this boy genius and started looking like this strung out this strung out dude who's just there. He's just biding his time. And so I think that it's more likely that they get rid of McDaniels than they would Tua, especially losing Tyreek, especially some of the other injuries that they had on offense, and even by the trade deadline, they had guys running around. They lost some guys on their defense that, in my opinion, helped them. They realigned and they played some strong games afterwards. So maybe they needed that. Maybe they need that energy out of there. I think that if this is not necessarily the last time you see Tua in a Dolphins uniform, but I do think he's on the hot seat. I do think that next year, if he comes out and plays poorly with a healthier team, even if it's something that's in preseason, you start to look at moving on from him. But the contracts that they give these quarterbacks are just insane, especially ones who have been injury prone. Like I just don't see it, and I don't see how they can not. Yeah, I don't see what they could do with him in this offseason realistically before getting rid of McDaniels and getting a healthy team and seeing how they can do next year.
I'll never find the graphic, but somebody had posted like an all-time chart of pay per concussions. It was pretty damn funny.
Oh goodness.
Chiefs Titans. Sean, the only reason I want to mention this game is because it's not fair. It is not fair. All anyone is going to talk about or remember from this season is that Mahomes got hurt, season-ending injury, and it's going to cover up and erase a really shitty Chiefs season where Mahomes' stats were like the one silver lining. This Chiefs team was historically awful this year, and now Mahomes got hurt that year. Now it's gone. This entire season is erased, and if they can fix it next year, it's like it never happened.
Well, of course, you know the statistics, right? The comparisons are to Brady. At this point, that's all we're looking at. And they said they lose the Super Bowl, Brady tears his ACL. What happens? He still goes on the tear, still ends up winning the all those championships. So that's it. We've known what was going to happen if the season was a wash. And now they have a valid excuse for why the season is a wash. Next year we're going to have the same argument. Patrick Mahomes. They're going to look at the offense. They're going to look at the defense. The defense needs to pick it up. They had top tier defense last year. The year before that, defense was significantly better. But when your offense is injured, and they did have some injuries and some guys out on offense this year, they didn't have consistency at receiver. When you look at those things, and you look at the offensive line not being as good, when you look at the run game not performing as well, even though they picked up Hunt and him and Pacheco together should be a strong 1-2 punch. But we just didn't see the same Chiefs defense be able to help control those games. We didn't see as much time on the field from Mahomes, and that in and of itself is what keeps them from being such a good team. Last year, they barely scored, but their defense held teams to what, under 15 most of the time? And so, yeah, you can cover up the offensive inept play. But this year, we didn't see necessarily an inept offensive play. We just saw a defense that really wasn't a top 10 defense in the NFL. And that's the exposure that happens to you. People start to scheme you. You start to lose players. Guys get older. Guys retire. They've seen it. Their success, they're gone by the wayside. And so you have to rebuild. And so I think this season is absolutely a wash. But I think it's the first time the Chiefs really got slapped in the face. Playing in Super Bowls, the last couple Super Bowls and AFC championships and everything like that, we've seen so much success early on in Mahomes' career. It was about time for them to get brought down to earth and for this organization to go, okay, we need to get back to pedigree, but how do we do that? We can't just keep the same guys around. Eventually, you need to really start making moves and start putting effort and putting new life and energy into this team. So I expected in the offseason, they're going to make some really big moves and try to get their team back to the promised land because the AFC has got some strong teams now, some stronger teams that we didn't expect before that are popping up at the top, and the Chiefs need to make sure they stay up there.
Sean, does it bother you as a Raiders fan to watch the Chiefs use the same draft strategy where they target morally and legally and ethically questionable players, and to have it work out for the Chiefs and not work out for the Raiders?
No, because I know what the Raiders are lacking. And obviously, if they had a guy like Andy Reid, a coach who has been known to be successful and stable in organizations. I mean, he's only coached for 2 organizations, and they've been pretty damn successful in both those places. If they didn't cycle coaches every 5 seconds, if we didn't have inept defenses, if we could keep a quarterback on the field, if we could actually build a real offensive line. I mean, the one time the Raiders had a good offensive line was the year they went 12-4 with Carr. And he gets injured right before they go into the playoffs. So, I mean, I know what they need. They just have not been able to truly build it. Even when they pick up a defensive player here or an offensive player there, even when they have a Pro Bowler here or a good player here and there, it just doesn't take away from the ineptness of the organization to really put a group of guys on the field to be successful. Crosby, solid defensive lineman, one of my favorite guys out there pass rushing. You watch Brock Bowers, and he's a guy who just he plays tough in the middle of the field, and so you can see a couple of guys that give you flashes of good football, but it's not enough as a core group to really put together a playoff run team. So I mean, I see the Chiefs and I say, okay, the guys that they got out there, they got 1 or 2 guys that they they draft speed because they know that they can pick up a possession receiver. Patrick Mahomes will get the ball to the other guys on the team. So they draft speed because that's really the hardest thing, I guess, to pick up. No one wants to let go of a guy who runs a 4-2, 4-3. So, I mean, yeah, it's tough to watch. But it's nice to see both teams suck in the division.
Jets and Saints. Saints are about a touchdown favorite here. I don't really have anything on this game. Now that my Jets bet is over, I don't really care anymore.
There are some guys right now that I'm looking at that are second string quarterbacks that the Jets could go after. Malik Willis is one of them. You watch the way that he plays for this Packers team. He has been, in my opinion, the best besides what's his name? Besides Mac Jones.
Davis Mills. Davis Mills is, I think, the name you're looking for.
I was going for Mac Jones, actually. Another guy who played on a team that was injured, who just kind of came in and fit the system well. And Davis Mills had a couple flashes that really kept that team in there that now looks like one of the best defenses in the NFL.
I hate the way you've painted my Davis Mills love on this show because if somebody just dropped in and saw that, they'd think I was a big Davis Mills guy. When in actuality, I just hate CJ Stroud.
I know, but Rick, look, where are we now? We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and where are we now?
Well, it's coming up here,
and they're looking good. But if I'm the Jets, there's some second string guys out there that I think that I could make a move for without losing draft capital and put a guy as a starter for that team that could actually be successful at quarterback. So I think that this is obviously the season's a wash. The Jets they got some things they need to work on. The Saints got some things they need to work on. They had some injuries. They really had some weird QB play, but I think they might have found their guy. I think they're ready to move on from Spencer Rattler and just give Schaff or whatever the hell his name is. Schaff. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Shuck.
Yeah, whatever. Give him a chance to really solidify himself as the QB1 for that team.
Chainlink game of the week. Make sure you are getting on to Chainlink. The link is in the video description. Easy and free to play. Make your picks. Let us know if you're taking the Jaguars or the Broncos in the comments section. Sean, this is a massive AFC game. And I think these teams actually match up pretty well with one another. I'm excited to see these quarterbacks. Obviously, Bo Nix and the Broncos sitting high. They've kind of been the team to pace all season, 12-2. Jaguars now at 10-4 in control of the South. This is quarterbacks for me, and this is the opportunity to kind of pass the torch to this next generation, which I'm including Trevor Lawrence in. I know he's a little bit older than some of these new younger guys, but he hasn't arrived really until this year. So
he's still got a baby face. He's still got a baby face.
There's we've been wanting this. We've been expecting this from Trevor Lawrence for forever, and he's here. I mean, he's been flawless pretty much since I wrote off the Jaguars. Like the last 5 weeks, 13 touchdowns, no picks. Jags look good. Trevor Lawrence look good. What do you have here at Mile High?
Honestly, for the story, I'd love to see the Jaguars win this game. I've been a I've been a critic early on about the years of inept play around my personally. When I looked at Trevor Lawrence, I think this is definitely his best season. And he's one of those guys who got one of those fat contracts off of one good year, and I was like, that was a waste of money. Now you're starting to see what everyone else was looking at when they talked about, oh, he just needs a little bit of this and needs a little bit of that. Some things to move, and sometimes your team comes together really. And again, they're playing without they've played the season without their best receiver. But I think that the energy that this team has injected, the defense plays strong. We are looking at them having control of their division right now, although they are only one game ahead of Rick's favorite quarterback, favorite team. Uh, but I will say that this will be a great game this is going to be a great game for the Jaguars to really prove that they are at that top class, that top level in the AFC. The Broncos have been, all season. Bo Nix having a great season, and the beauty is that Rick, I didn't have to hear you I didn't have to hear you glaze him all season because he just played well. The defense also played really, really well, and I think that team is really built to be able to control their own destiny here. But they still have a fight. Both of these teams are still fighting for their divisions. Both of them are still fighting to see who's going to be top in the AFC. So I think that this is a great game, really a bellwether for which one of these teams is ready to take that next step and be a potential, late playoff push type of team.
For me, if Bo Nix throws for 250, a passing touchdown, gets a rushing touchdown, the Broncos win this game, Bo Nix is the NFL MVP. He's going to make it to 4,000 passing yards. The Broncos will probably be the 1 seed in the AFC, especially with this win. That's it for me. Bo's the MVP. It's Super Bowl or bust at that point. This Broncos team has looked fantastic, but this is their hardest game of the entire year. Obviously, going to Mile High from an altitude standpoint, weather aside, is difficult. But this Jaguars team is good. This is a solid team. The thing that gives me a little bit of heartburn about the Jags is that speed and tempo is really their thing. They move around packages. They use a lot of motion. They use a whole bunch of underneath cross routes, and it works. I mean, they execute it wonderfully. Going up to Mile High, if some of these guys get gassed, that might not work. And the Broncos' pass rush is better than most of what the Jaguars have seen this season. So they're going to need to score early. They're going to have to get on the board early in this game and maintain. Because if they can't put points up in the first quarter and Denver does, they're going to get tired eventually. And they're professionals, right? I don't know if it's the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, but there will become a time where the Broncos are going to outperform the Jaguars in this game. So for me, the question is, can Trevor Lawrence put enough points on the board early? Can the Jaguars defense frustrate Bo Nix early and build enough of a cushion? Because the Broncos will win a quarter going away. It's just a question of what the score is when that happens.
So I think that that push for Bo Nix MVP is a little early in my opinion.
No.
I absolutely see the opportunity. I see the writing on the walls. He is one of those guys. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that Sam Darnold might be your MVP, and that says a lot. Let's
Nobody
be
wants,
honest.
but
The man
nobody
has played
wants that.
except Sam Darnold in Seattle, man. I don't want to say it, but the man is playing great football. And right now he's playing it against the best teams in the NFL. They got 3 losses on the season. Rams, Niners, who are both divisional teams, both teams in top, and then a potential division leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's his only L's of the season. If you are and they're leading the AFC right now, it's in their control. So I see what you're saying. Darnold's looking great, but if I'm looking, I mean, between Drake May, Darnold, and Bo Nix, I might have to lean a little bit more on the Darnold side.
So if
Yeah.
you want to get real, the MVP's already decided. It's already over. Matt Stafford has
Oh, yeah.
4,179 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, and 5 picks. It's already decided. Like he can take 2 games off, and Dak might not catch him. He's 400 yards ahead of Darnold. He's 14 passing touchdowns better than the next closest guy. He only has 5 picks. He's completed 66% of his passes. Like the MVP's decided. Like I'm not a fool, but come on, man, give me Bo.
Right? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It should already be decided. However, for whatever reason, let's say we watch the Rams lose the next 2 games, and they end up as a 7. Do you see him winning?
I mean, it depends. Who do they play the next 2 games as you throw for 400 yards in both of those games?
Hey, it depends on, as long as he doesn't collapse. We're looking at a Stafford that's going to throw for 4,500 yards easy, maybe 47.
So the only reason Stafford shouldn't make it to 4,500 is if they build more distance. They're at the Falcons in a dome next week, and then they're home against the Cardinals. He could have 800 passing yards in those 2 games if he plays.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, and it would be an MVP. It's tough for me it's tough for me to look at that if they lose both of those games for whatever reason. If they lose,
that's fair. I don't know what the NFL would do if say he goes off like that, right? If he has 5,000 yards and 50 touchdown passes.
Oh,
like
easy, bro, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But
all right,
I will say that the only way that we don't see it.
Talk to me about Jags Broncos some more.
Yeah, honestly, this game is gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a fun game to watch. I expect there's gonna be some early defense, and then I expect there's gonna be some scoring in the fourth, as we start to see these teams really try to push to put their foot on the pedal. And you are correct. I think that the Broncos really like to keep pace. They like to move the ball down the field quickly. So we're going to see that type of play. But I think the Jags will also be able to keep pace as well. So it'll be a fun game. It'll be a quick game. It'll be 2 teams who are not going to sit back in the pocket. Quarterback's going to get the ball out early. You're going to see some quarterback. You're going to see some QB runs. You're going to see some quick motions there. So I think it'll be a fun game to watch. If you're watching this game, definitely get your popcorn ready. It's going to be good.
Ooh, I've got a fun bet for you.
Oh, let's hear it.
I have the first third quarter touchdown of this slate coming from this game.
First third quarter touchdown
of this slate. So Jags, Broncos, Falcons, Cardinals, Raiders, Texans, Steelers, Lions. Those 4 games, the first third quarter touchdown comes from the Broncos and the Jags.
I'll take that bet. I am looking right now at how bad some of these teams could be on special teams, and I'm thinking someone's getting a punt return, a kick return. Like I'm
I'm
not
just
even looking
thinking.
at
I'm
extra
just thinking
passing touchdowns.
clock. Like this game
I
might be in
know.
the fourth quarter by the time the Cardinals Falcons game gets out of halftime.
Oh, I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair.
So let's talk about Falcons cards. If you want to, I don't
Oh, of
really.
course. I always want to. Come on now.
Sean's the only
Nah.
reason you guys get to hear commentary on every game because there's ones I would just skip over.
Realistically, this both of these teams are have some issues at quarterback that they really need to figure out. In my opinion, weirdly enough, the Cardinals might be in a better situation. Jacoby Brissett has looked significantly better at the helm of this team than Kyler Murray, and it's about time for me, in my opinion, for them to move on from Kyler. He's just been too inconsistent and unable to stay on the field. For me, he plays a couple of good games. You get him 2-0. You get him to 4-2 or 3-3 or whatever, and you
Same thing
just
you're talking
watch
about with Tua, though.
and you just watch. It is a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but I think that the Cardinals aren't an organization who can afford it. I think that as a team who wins 4 games in a season, whatever the case is, like you don't really have to stay in the same chance as putting one more product on the field. If you're if you are the Dolphins and you lose Tyreek Hill, an absolute athlete of a player, and you lose a tight end, you lose your quarterback has been battling injury. When he's good, Tua is way better than Kyler Murray, and we know for a fact that his issues aren't aren't non-football related. Everybody can talk every day about Tua with the concussions, not wanting to wear the guardian cap, and but when he's on the field, he's fighting. Whether or not he can see who he's fighting is different. But Kyler, on the other hand, it seems like early on in the season, we watch him out there and he's playing like I want to keep my position, I want to keep my contract. And by the end, we start to kind of see him pull up on plays, throw balls way Aaron, and it just feels like he gets out of the groove, and then suddenly he's injured and he's shut down for the rest of the season. It's like, what the hell? Like Tua every week is fighting for his starting role. And so if I'm a head coach, if I'm a a guy in the locker room, I'll take an injured Tua over a healthy Kyler Murray. As far as a guy who I want in my locker room to be trying to lead my team, because even a healthy Kyler Murray doesn't feel like he's really leading that team. All the excuses, and yes, they're a team who has been battling injury. They're a team who's on their fourth running back at this point. But with that being said, I still don't see the same game management, respect, and control that I see from Tua that I see from Kyler, especially when you see your backup running or backup quarterbacks coming in and managing the clock better and hitting the receivers better. I mean, imagine if Jacoby Brissett had a healthy Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Harrison, and he's got Trey McBride. He's got his running back in there. Suddenly, this team looks like a reasonably decent team, but it just doesn't feel the same with Kyler in there, especially when you get to mid and late in the season. So if I'm the Cards, it's time to really move on. Kyler can't mentor anybody. Tua, realistically, you don't necessarily need to, but he has the pedigree to be able to potentially mentor a quarterback. Um, Obviously, not mentor him to take the concussions, but he's a guy who, as far as his skill set goes, as far as his ability to make the right plays, he could do it.
Um, Steelers Lions is an interesting one in that it's two playoff teams. Lions 7-point favorites at home. This Steelers team looks a little lost. We didn't have super high expectations of them, but I just feel like they've drifted even from what we had expected. Uh, do they have enough left in the tank to win this division?
Yeah, they do, but it's only because it's because they're playing against the Ravens have not been able to put it together. And so they're gonna sloth their way into the playoffs. Where it's not like we're watching a powerhouse Aaron Rodgers right now. He's doing what he needs to do to be able to get his team to win games when it counts. And the Ravens season closeout isn't easy. I mean, right now they're going to be playing against a very, very tough, very angry Patriots team this week. And so on the road, I don't see that game being a win for the Ravens, especially with a hurt Lamar. So if you're a Steelers team who's playing against uh, uh, a very strong offensive, but a very inconsistent defense in Detroit. If you're a Steelers team, you can win this game. You wanted to make sure you keep control of that division. So if I'm the Steelers, I am going all in today. Honestly, my unsung hero for this team has been Kenneth Gainwell. Say what you will, but between him stepping in and basically not having too much of a drop off in productivity when Warren was out, and then him with the returns, getting them into good position. I think that it allows their offense to kind of operate, and it allows them to operate under the guys that they don't have to do too much to get at least into field goal range. And when they score, they're able to hold teams. This Detroit team is just so inconsistent, specifically defensively, that the Steelers have an opportunity here to beat Detroit and then maintain. And thank you. I appreciate it. Holiday fit. The Steelers have a chance here to maintain their lead in that division and go into the playoffs looking like a team that's going to, force somebody to come to play in Pittsburgh in the cold in January, and that's not easy to do. So if I'm the Steelers, I'm in a good position right now. I just got to take it home. You're playing in a dome, so there's no weather issue. Everybody's got a fair shake here, and it should be a fun game to watch. It should be a very, very high scoring game. If we're looking at a 30-35 game, I wouldn't expect anything less from these two teams.
Vegas got this sitting at 52-5.
Feeling low to me. Feeling a little low. Given how inconsistent these defenses play. Yeah.
Let's not beat a dead horse. What do we need to see from the Texans here? One game behind the Jaguars, one game ahead of the Colts. This is probably a playoff team at this point. What do the Texans need to show that they have improved upon to convince you that they are a real contender for an AFC Championship game?
Their offense has to stay on the field, and more importantly, their offensive line needs to protect their quarterback. If their O line protects their quarterback against one of the better pass rushers in the league in Max Crosby, then I can give them a little bit of leeway, given that they're going to have to play against some really good pass rushers in the AFC in order to be able to make a run here in the playoffs. They need to put up a lot of points against a bad Raiders team. We watched the Eagles do it last week, and it really helped them. It really felt like they were on the right track. And then obviously they did it again to the Commanders. So now we're like, okay, this Eagles team seems like they're moving in the right direction. This is what you want to see. And we are watching one of the best defenses right now in the NFL in the Texans, dude. I mean, hands down, we have watched them dominate the last couple of weeks. And so
they've only allowed 228 points this season. That's crazy.
Stacked defense. Will Anderson and that defense looks so good. And playing against some not so great competition later on in the season helps your team. It helps guys get a little rest. Your offense is suddenly running a lot more. You're pacing the game, and so that's what they need. Like, that's genuinely what they need. They need this game to be a game where they put up points early and where they just kind of grind out the clock and allow themselves to get off unscathed against the Raiders team, who really can't put a good product on the field. Their season is definitely a wash, and so they got some things they need to do in the offseason. But if you're the Texans, you're not in a bad position. I mean, we were looking at a 7-0 Colts team that nobody thought was going to be able to be beat. Suddenly, they're not even in the playoff hunt. We're not even looking at them anymore. One of the most epic collapses I've seen, and love to see it, because I really didn't have the confidence early on. So if I am the Texans, I am confident. They got a chance to even win their division, given how that Jacksonville Broncos plays out. So from the Texans, I am looking up right now.
Sunday Night Football gave me shivers, Sean, being our age. This is Tom Brady. This is Ray Lewis. This is Vonta Leach. Like, Patriots, Ravens. You alluded to it earlier. This is a underperforming Ravens team and an angry Patriots team. This line is currently sitting Ravens -3, which feels insane to me.
Correct. That feels crazy.
It's juiced to hell. minus 120, but I don't know how the Ravens win this game given the product they put on the field the last season. I
I
don't
think
see it.
it's
I'm
the
looking I'm looking at
it's
like wider
Hurt,
statistics. Like Drake
Lamar.
May wins this game no matter what. I don't think it matters what the Ravens do on offense. I don't know if they can score enough points.
I think what they're looking at is whether or not they think that they're going to be able to stop Derrick Henry. And you stack the box. You stack the box, and you force this very inept offense to beat you there. They're going to have to run Derrick Henry. That's the only way they can balance out the offense. Say what you want, but Zay Flowers is about to be a 1,000-yard receiver. Although the touchdowns aren't really doing too much for me. You got a 1,000-yard, you got a 1,000-yard rusher here, one of the best in the game. And realistically, they just have not gotten the touchdowns from Lamar that they need. They are not getting the efficiency that they need. They're getting a lot of short drives, and the Ravens do very well when they control the game clock. So we're looking at a revamped Patriots offense with a better defense. The key here is that they got outplayed really bad last week after scoring early on and slowing down, and that's what they can't do this week. Because the Ravens team, if you start playing on your heels, if you start playing it back, then you allow them to get comfortable. You allow them to spend so much time on the field. So realistically, the Patriots need to control the clock. They need to play a slow game. If you play a slow game, it's to your benefit because you don't allow the Ravens to start to feel, to get in the groove, to get hot. You keep Lamar off the field, and that's going to be your key here. So I mean, playing at home, it's not easy to play in Baltimore. If the Patriots somehow melt down and go 0-2 in these last two games, we're watching a very different AFC playoff race shape up. I was expecting the Patriots would just kind of lock it up here, and if they had the chance here, they solidify their division. If they get the win here, in my opinion, and they really start to put the lighter to the Broncos to have to close out the season strong as well. So either way, we're expecting that this is going to be a good game, but I just don't see, as the Patriots have played all season and as inconsistently as we've seen the Ravens play, that they're going to win this game. But any given Sunday.
I think Trevion Henderson's for real. I think the Patriots might have their first real running back since James White. If they can get him going early, they can control the clock on this Ravens team and put this away. But yeah, stopping Derrick Henry obviously has to be a focus. But with Lamar's limited ability to escape and to throw accurately this season, I don't know that there's a way it gets done.
Yeah. However, we are looking at some injuries too. Make sure you check your lineups. There's, Robert Spillane, linebacker, out today, and that's a big deal for a Patriots team that he is really much the anchor for in the middle of that. So that's going to shape up to be an impact player right there. But overall, I'm going to say that the Patriots probably take this game. However, Lamar has been my starting quarterback for all my fantasy seasons, so if he shows up and throws for 4 passing touchdowns a day or rushes for 1 and throws for a couple, I would be very, very happy for that to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Injury reports are rolling in, so I'll go ahead and get your check on there. Marvin Harrison expected to play. Okay, Monday Night Football here is a lot less shiny than it looked when we were looking down the schedule when both these teams were playing really well. 49ers, Colts, obviously having a quarterback older than me who hasn't played in 4 years isn't a great look. Feel good story. And Rivers didn't look awful. He looked serviceable.
For a guy who was sitting on his ass, he did pretty decently. Like for a guy who was sitting on his ass, he did pretty fucking decently.
I have to imagine it's a heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey against Jonathan Taylor in this game. That's how both these teams are built. That's how both these teams will win. But I don't think it's unreasonable to think that whichever quarterback plays better in this game is the team that wins. And I'm not convinced with what we saw from Philip Rivers last week that he can't outduel Purdy. I think it's unlikely, but if you showed me two stat lines and Rivers was better, I wouldn't be shocked by it. What do you think the key to victory here is if we eliminate the running backs from the picture, assuming that's what they want to do?
No, you are absolutely correct, but I think it's going to come down to the play calling. I think you're going to have to, and we have to remember too. Philip Rivers just came in cold. Like, let's be honest, the man didn't have any time
Didn't have shoes.
to prepare. Yeah, he did. He had no time to prepare, and I apologize. I got a little barky boy right now. I'm not sure you guys can hear that. He had no time to prepare. Give him a full week, and they want to play spoiler. The Colts realistically still have a shot to make the playoffs. It's not over for them just yet. They could potentially go 11-6, and maybe be able to. But it starts here, and if they can take down this San Francisco team, to me, who just feels like that they've played well, but they didn't have the hardest schedule per se. But they also just very consistent. Defense has played solid all year. They've been able to score when they need to, and they beat the teams that they needed to beat. If the Colts come in here and make this a very difficult game, by the way, playing at home, not an easy thing to do if you're going on the road. Although 6-2 on the road for San Fran, so they are used to winning away. I think that it's a chance here for the Colts to finally put the brakes on their slide and say, "Hey, no, wait, we still have a chance here. We still have the top running back in the NFL. We still have a serviceable offense, and our defense is still playing at a decent enough level for us to be able to at least make the playoffs. I don't see them winning the division. It's not happening. But I say for certain they could also be playing spoiler here against a San Francisco team that is just slightly being outpaced by two very powerful teams right now. The division is absolutely stacked. And so if you're San Fran, you have to win every single game, and you have to win them to the point where you're putting yourself in position to be able to maintain and get that playoff spot. Again, they're still not technically out of first place in their division, which is weird. We're just watching so much good football come out of the West right there that it's really cool to see. But if you are the Colts, you have to manage the clock. Whoever manages the clock better and has less turnovers, you can see some weird quarterback play here. You'll see some. You'll really see a couple of good plays coming from San Fran. You know they're going to do some scheming. You know they're going to have some guys. You know, some end arounds here, some random weird QB, some random QB options. They're going to be running CMC all over the field, hoping that he is going to be the deciding factor. But I think the Colts' name of the game here is to manage the clock. Again, we're looking at a quarterback who's just stepping into the role, and so I think that's what you need to do in this game in order to get to the next point.
There's a scenario where a 13-win 49ers team does not make the playoffs. 4 games better than a conference champion.
Mm-hmm.
Division champion, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's unlikely to happen, but it is mathematically possible that they could be 4 games better than the worst division winner and miss the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, we've seen that happen a couple of times. You know, some of those NFC North battles. We've seen that with a lot of the NFC South in recent years. You've seen that even with the AFC South when we're looking at the Texans sneaking in with a couple of those seasons where they were just, you know, a 10-win team. But yeah, I mean, hey, realistically, we got a couple of teams here that are going to win their division that are playing real soft football. And so it'll be cool, though, to see a strong Niners team come up against a division leader and be like, oh, goodness, like, how is that even possible?
Yeah. Well, hey, that is the Week 16 slate. I'm excited for this one. It's a good set of games. Make sure you get onto Chainlink and make your pick. I don't see any Jaguars or Broncos picks in the chat, so I better be seeing them in the app. Chainlink.st. Play for free.
Trash
Play
bin.
with
Trash
us.
bin. What do you got? What do you got?
Bills minus 10.5. Quinn Ewers outright.
Okay, respect. I'm gonna say, give me Bengals outright, and I'm gonna take Bengals outright. I'm gonna take Steelers to beat the spread.
It's +7.
Beautiful.
All right. That's week 16. Yelling and screaming. Thanks for joining us. If you're in Arizona, we will see you at brunch here shortly.
Oh yeah,
Peace
Christmas
out,
out there too. Let's do it.
Oh, wow. That
Happy
is so much
holidays,
more.
kids. Happy. Oh yeah, you didn't even know it was coming. I'm sorry I
I just
showed
saw
up
you
late, but
wearing
I
a
had to get
suit
ready
with no
quick.
shirt. I did not expect a vest. Jesus. Peace out, y'all. Enjoy NFL Week 16.
Take care.